What's up, Bears Nation? Yesterday, I finally had the chance to attend a Bears training camp for the first time in my life. And let me just say that if you haven't been to one, you should definitely try to get tickets. Even if you have younger kids, it's a great experience for all ages. They do have a lot of activities that are geared more towards the youngins, so definitely feel free to bring your kids along with you. I did initially try to get 4 tickets. I wanted to bring some people along with me, but after clicking on every single day, they didn't have anything else available. So I eventually just settled for 1 ticket for the last day of training camp, which was yesterday. The moral of the story is if you want to get tickets, just get them early. Actually, wait, don't get tickets because I want to bring people with next year. So maybe don't because, yeah, training camp is super horrible.
Horrible training camp reaction.
Actually, it's not horrible at all. It's a great experience.
Best training camp ever. Reaction.
Okay, technically, I guess this was the only time I've ever went, but still.
Only training camp ever.
Anyway, enough fooling around. Let's get on to my recap. So once the practice started, the first thing I noticed was how fast-paced everything was and how organized everything was. I was trying to take notes on my phone while watching everything because they have a pretty strict no video policy. They do let you take photos, but you're not supposed to take videos, which I do understand. But because of that, I wasn't able to capture all the details I would have liked to capture. But just in terms of the pace, I did note that at exactly 10:30, they started their 11-on-11 red zone drill with the first string taking the first series of reps. Then they brought in the second string for another handful of reps, and then the third string. And then at 10:37, I noted that that's when the first string came back on the field again. So just within they started all over again, right? So just within 7 minutes, they went through their first string, second string, and third string, and a handful of reps for each in 7 minutes in the red zone. So I thought that was just super impressive. That's just the one thing I wanted to note. So the way the camp is set up is that there's 2 fields. Field 1 is the one that's closest to the stands where all the fans are sitting. And so there's about 1,000 people there. There's a room for 1,000 people. So it is a pretty low number of people in attendance. And then on field 2 is the farther away field. And they were on field 1 the majority of the time doing 11-on-11 drills, but they started with the special teams unit on field 1. It was just the punting unit. And the only thing worth really mentioning here is that there weren't any drops that I saw, which is a good thing. Velus Jones Jr., V12, he was out there with also Tyler Scott, Dante Pettis. I did see Nasimba Webster out there as well, and I think EQ joined them at some point, but I can't remember exactly. But anyway, good thing to note is that there were no drops. So for a quick summary of the day, overall I think that the defense won the day. The offense seemed like they were more focused on practicing running the ball. So it's a little hard to tell on how good a run play is when you can't tackle anyone. But I did definitely notice that there were multiple occasions that the defense stuffed the run with little or no gain or even a loss. But there were maybe 1 or 2 plays that I saw that broke 15 yards as a run play for the offense. But then the defense did seem to get to the QB pretty frequently in sacking him, which again is good for the defense, bad for the offense. For the defensive standouts, the first player that I noticed when they were coming out onto the field, before practice started, was Javon Dexter. Is just a freak. He's absolutely gigantic. I mean, I'm 6'5", and I'm pretty sure he could break me in half. I'm just saying. But he's a huge dude. I didn't notice too many plays, but I did hear from other reports that he was getting into the backfield. I think he had a couple sacks on the day. I didn't actually note anything down, but there's just too much to look at for one person, and you can't really notice a sack either just because they let the play continue on. So it's kind of hard to notice the sack, but apparently he he was in the backfield. And then after practice, he was also spotted practicing one-on-one with Yannick Ngakoue, which is our new edge rusher. And it's just good to see that. Another notable play that I saw was number 90, Dominique Robinson, on the edge was rushing the passer. He was rushing Justin Fields, and he got a great pass deflection. Justin tried to throw it over him. He jumped up and batted it down. which is just great to see. Super athletic play from him. And another player I wanted to note was Justin Jones. Justin Jones was doing a good job yesterday, and the one play that I saw, I think he had a sack or two as well. But the one play that I wanted to note down was that he absolutely just destroyed Treston Ebner, number 25, when he was rushing the passer. And I think they give him credit for the sack too, but they let the play go on, So, but he just demolished Treston Ebner. I felt kind of bad because it was just not. That was definitely a mismatch. We'll say that much. And then another player I wanted to note on the defensive side. These are all defensive linemen I noted, but Andrew Billings, aside from him also just being a ginormous player, he was in the backfield multiple times, which I think they kind of brought him in to be a run stuffer, but he got at least one sack, if not multiple sacks. So I just wanted to note that as well. So on the other side of the ball, on the offensive side of the ball, there weren't as many notable plays, but I did have a couple worth mentioning. Justin Fields hit Mercedes Lewis, number 84, our newly acquired tight end, for a good game. It was like a little kind of bailout screen play. Looked like he was pass blocking for a second, and then he bailed out and he went for a screen. Justin hit him, and he had nothing but green grass in front of him, so he made a good gain there, maybe like 15, 20 yards there, which was really good to see. Another thing I wanted to mention was Deontay Foreman, number 21, is getting the majority of reps with the first string as the first string running back. Khalil Herbert, number 24, was taking reps with the second string, although he did have a few with the first string later on. And I think that this is an interesting battle between the two. Honestly, it's just nice to have two top 10 running backs on the same team that costs you next to nothing. So I think our running back, I don't think after losing David Montgomery, I don't think that our running game is going to take any hits. I think it might actually improve. I love David Montgomery. I can't say that enough. I can't love him anymore because he's on the Lions, but it is nice to have two very solid running backs in our backfield still. And then staying with the running backs, number 25, Treston Ebner, did have a few good runs. He was out there making cuts, and his speed was definitely on display in practice, which I think was something that was left to be desired last year. And then, of course, you can't go a practice without mentioning number 2, DJ Moore. He had a couple of good catches. Not too many deep shots were taken today, but there were definitely still some really athletic catches made by DJ Moore, at least 2 that I noted down. And then just a couple of other notes that I had throughout the day. There were a fair amount of penalties on both sides of the ball, a couple of offside on the offense. I didn't really note any from the defense, but then there were also some pass interference called on both sides. Another good note is that Cairo Santos was at least 6 for 6 from what I saw for field goals and extra points he made. He was perfect, and that is great to see. And then my player of the day that I'm going to mention was number 88, Steven Carlson. He's a tight end. He made a handful of really good catches for P.J. Walker. He was honestly one of P.J. Walker's favorite targets on the second string, and it's just good to see that, like another younger tight end. I believe he was an undrafted free agent. Don't quote me on that. I believe there was one play that he had a pass interference called on him, but it's kind of hard to tell because there was a flag on the play. I think they brought it back, but they were kind of moving the ball around anyway. But either way, he's going to be one of my players to watch tomorrow in our first preseason game. And then lastly, I'll just mention like the injuries for the day. I did notice on the sideline, Jaquan Brisker, Tremaine Edmonds, Dylan Cole, Marcus Walker, Josh Blackwell, Terrell Smith. Nate Davis I didn't actually see on the field, but others did report that he was out there but not practicing. And then also number 10, Chase Claypool, was also injured, which was the more disappointing injury. He was injured the practice before, and I would have loved to see him out there. I doubt he's going to play in the preseason game tomorrow, but time will tell. And that wraps up my recap. I'll be making a reaction video to the preseason game tomorrow against the Titans, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. Give this video a like if you liked the content, and even if you didn't, just like it, please. Thank you. Thanks again for watching, and as always, bear down, Chicago.